And welcome everybody to God in the Timber podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Scott. How about y'all pull up a seat? Let's talk for a little bit. What's up, y'all? Episode 6 of God in the Timber podcast. I want to welcome y'all, and I hope that y'all have a good ear to listen today, and I hope that y'all have an open heart and an open spirit to be filled today. So we're going to jump right into things, and we're going to start like we always do with the campfire story. So I would love to do this by an actual campfire. One day this podcast is going to be hosted by a campfire with a bunch of outdoorsmen and outdoors women, and we're going to have some true campfire talk followed by some true Holy Spirit filled testimonies. Can I get an amen on that? I appreciate y'all. So this story is including my best friend Stephen Joyner. I call him Steve-O. So in this story he's going to be referenced as Steve-O because that's all I've ever called him, and my late dad. So a few days after I killed my first deer, which I talked about in the last episode, or maybe 2 episodes ago before, I know it was after Christmas now. So Steve-O got a gun for Christmas. He got that combo pack. It was like a 20 gauge and a 243 single shot, if I remember correctly. And my dad was like, hey, how about you invite Steve-O over to go hunting and I'll take him. So I was like, heck yeah, my best friend gets to stay over my house all weekend and we get to hunt. That's what I am talking about. So I called Steve-O up, and at that time we still had landlines. And so, backstory on this, me and Steve-O's been best friends since we was like 2 years old, and we literally live a mile up the road from each other. And I just moved to my grandmother's old house. Well, Steve-O bought a house about a half a mile away from where he grew up, and I moved like half a mile. So it's like we stay in the same vicinity of each other. But so me and Daddy goes up there and picks him up and brings him down here, and we wake up the next morning and we go hunting. My brother would deny this to this day that he said my name. But we wake up and the roles was going to be reversed. My brother was going to walk the holler out so Daddy could take Steve-O to the back field where my brother normally sits, and I was going back to where I just killed the spot. And I stepped down in the holler, and my brother still denies that he hollered my name, but I jumped up 2 deer that I never saw. And me and Steve-O and Daddy, until he passed away, we all agreed that he said, "Cow!" My brother said he screamed out, "Murr." We all heard cow. And he squeezes a couple of rounds off and he misses them. Well, the way the deer run is towards my daddy and Steve-O. And my dad laughed his butt off telling us this story so many times, and so did Steve-O. Daddy swore up and down that doe could have licked the end of Steve-O's barrel because it busted out of where it was at and stopped in the road because it saw somebody else and it was startled, and it stopped pretty much at the end of Steve-O's barrel. But the adrenaline was pumping so much, my daddy couldn't tell Steve-O to pull the trigger, and Steve-O couldn't pull the trigger. They was both frozen solid. So I just believe that was an awesome memory especially for Steve-O and for my dad, but also for me to know that my dad was able to take my best friend hunting. And me and Steve-O still hunts together to this day. We're actually taking a trip to Missouri in October together. But that's not even the funniest part of this story. We get back to the house, and my oldest brother's in the military. I got 2 older brothers. My middle brother is still home, and I'm still in this area. But his wife got him a brand new 30-06 for Christmas, and they shot it. Apparently they shot it at his father-in-law's house, and apparently that thing kicked like a mule. So we're out there shooting it, and I'm not, and I can tell you that thing kicks like a mule. Like once later on that evening I shot it, and that thing will knock your shoulder out of place if you ain't holding it right. Well, my daddy, being the man he was, he said, "Let me see that gun. I'll show y'all boys how to shoot it." My daddy had I can't remember, I think it was like a 90 square body F-150, had the dual gas tank, and this thing was baby blue, and it was a single cab. Well, he decided that he was going to lay across the hood to shoot this. We're shooting at a target like 50 to 75 yards away, and it's actually just a big old piece of plywood we painted a bullseye on. And my daddy puts that butt of that gun tight on that shoulder, and as soon as he started squeezing the trigger, every single one of us saw him raise that shoulder up to prepare for the recoil on it. If you know anything about a straight line, if the back end of that straight line goes up, where does the front end of that straight line go? It goes down. So he squeezes that trigger, and one of my brothers is looking, I think it was my middle one, was looking through some binos, and he's like, "Dang, Daddy, you only missed the bullseye by like 2 or 3 inches. That ain't too bad with a scope that ain't set yet." Then the air quotes smoke settles, and all of us look down, and my daddy has done put a hole through the hood of this F-150, through the quarter panel of this F-150, and still only missed the target by like 3 inches. So we just tell everybody that's how good of a marksman my daddy was that he can shoot a truck and still only miss the target on a scope that ain't set by like 3 inches. He could have daggum almost took a deer out if the deer would have been there. But that was just a funny story. I hope y'all enjoy that story. Me and Steve-O and my dad got into so much. The next story I have to tell y'all for the campfire story is the tornado on the river. Ooh, son, that was a scary one. But today we're going to go into Isaiah. So a lot of people knows this verse or knows parts of this verse because it was in that popular movie Fury. So Isaiah 6. This is where Isaiah is called to be a prophet, but he don't feel like he's worthy enough to be a prophet because he has unclean lips. And they take a smolder from the altar that's burning, and they place it on his lips, and they say, let me find where exactly it says that. "And he touched my mouth with it," this is verse 7, "and behold this, and said, Behold, this has touched your lips, your iniquity is taken away, and your sin is purged." Okay, so now we're going to verse 8. Know that now Isaiah's lips are clean, pretty much is what they're saying. Verse 8, "And I heard the voice of the Lord saying, Whom shall I send, and who will go for us? Then I said, Here am I, send me." How many times have we pretty much chickened out from doing something for the glory of God because we're afraid of what people's going to think, or we're afraid of how it's going to affect us with our friends, or how it's going to affect us with co-workers, or how it's going to affect us in our love life? Like, we got to have the Isaiah in us. We got to have that Isaiah in us. Everybody there for a while is like, "I got that dog in me." No, you need to have that Isaiah in you is what you need to have. Where when God tells you to move, you don't say, "Well, I kind of want to do this instead." No, you say, "All right, let's move. Here I am. Send me." How much more would we get done in the church houses? How much more would we get done in the darkness of the earth if we just said, "Here I am, Lord, use me. Here I am, God. Use me to further thy kingdom." Like, that is a thing that I have had to work on a lot in my life because I am I can't, never mind, I'm not going to say that because I do act first and then question it. That'll be another story, and that's going to be a story that my wife is on here with me about how I knocked a tree on my head. But just think about it. Isaiah did not hesitate at all. He stepped up, he said yes, and he knew what was going to be ahead of him was not going to be easy. He had no guarantees on it. He had no safety net, but he had a heart that was willing to answer the call. And that kind of faith, the Bible tells us if we have faith the size of a grain of a mustard seed, then we could tell that mountain to move from here to there, and that mountain will get up and move. So just imagine that little bit of faith that Isaiah had to say, here I am, use me. Here I am, send me. And, you know, just put it into context of, like, the outdoor world. Like, actually out there in the outdoors. Say you're walking down a old logging road. We'll put it that way. You're walking down an old logging road. You're out hunting. It's the middle. For us, everybody says sweet November. Here in the South, it's like sweet January because we don't have a November rut in certain places. So you're heading down a log road and it's the rut. And you meet another hunter going to your honey hole. You angry, ain't you? Well, you and him just sat there and you talk for a little bit, and he's like, "I'm going back there. Like, I was already at the intersection before you even showed up. I'm going back here." So you got to have faith that what you're gonna do next is right. Like, you got to have faith that what you're doing is right. Don't start the argument. Pray about it. Hey, dude, I understand you was here first. So you head back there, and I pray that you kill the biggest buck back there. I'm going to take my faith and walk on this way, and maybe God will bless me. So you got to have that faith to keep moving. I guess that whole story, it might have not have been a good analogy right there. But your whole story right there is you have to have the faith to keep moving. But sometimes, so if you think about it like this, I'm not going to tell you that answering God's calls means that the hard stuff's going to disappear, because it's not. Because as soon as you answer that call, the devil is going to try to get you back from doing God's work. He does it every time. If you ever want to see somebody that's truly struggling, watch them about 2 weeks after they get baptized. About 2 weeks after they get baptized is going to be the hardest 2 weeks of their life, because the devil's going to throw every single thing that he can at them to try to pull them back on his side. So sometimes that call means that you are going to step into a storm. You're going to walk through the deepest, darkest hollers, and you're going to carry the loads on your shoulders that is going to absolutely wear you down. But like I said in previous podcasts, he never expects you to do it alone. So he's never expecting you to do it alone. And one of the things that I hear on social media a lot that really irks me is when people says, God will never put more on you than you can bear. Yes, he will. But he does it so you will call upon his name. He's going to put you in positions that you feel like you are down and out, that you can no longer take another step. And at that point, it's time to call on his name. That little saying, I don't know where it came from. I've never researched it, but I've heard it over and over again. I've probably said it before in my life. That right there just irks me now, because I know the love of Jesus Christ. I know the love that is filled inside of my spirit. But I know for a fact that if it wasn't for me hitting daggum rock bottom, where I felt like I had no other place to go, and then I called upon the Lord to forgive me of my sins, that I would not be where I'm at today. I would still be an alcoholic. I would still be the person partying all the time. I'd still be the person that cussed all the time. I'd still be the person that much rather be anywhere else but in the presence of God. So instead of having that dog in you, have that Isaiah in you. And whenever God says, hey, I'm ready for you to move, you say, where do you want me to go? Whenever he says, hey, I want you to do this, and you're like, yes, sir, here we go. Let's get it going. So I'm going to leave y'all with this today. And I'm just praying that if you felt anything off of this, or that you feel like you're in that holler right now and the ridge top is so high above you that you know that you can call upon Jesus, and don't ever ignore that prayer. I guess you say that. Don't never ignore that chance to pray. When you're at your bottom, never ignore that prayer, or that chance to pray, because the God on the mountain, there's a song that says this: the God on the top of the mountain is the same as the God in the bottom of the valley. So many times we get to the top of that mountain and we forget to pray because everything's going good, and then we start falling off that mountain. We hit that bottom of that holler again, and we are like, okay, I need to start praying again. Pray continuously. So for this week's challenge, I want y'all to truly find you a quiet spot. Get away. I'm not saying take vacation unless you can take vacation. Then take vacation and have fun. But find you a quiet spot and pray and listen for God's voice in your own life. It could be early morning while you're getting ready for work. All the lights are still off in the house. You ain't even started brewing your coffee yet. And you just want to have that stillness about the morning and make it sacred. Just sit down and pray and listen to God's calling on your life. And whenever He tells you, or whenever He calls you, be ready to have Isaiah and say, "Here am I, send me." So, I want to thank y'all again for allowing this to grow. Allowing this to be a light into the darkness. This podcast is formed to be a light into the darkness, and I'm so proud that God is using me as a mouthpiece to do it. And I just pray that it can reach more and more people. So the only way that that's going to happen is if y'all share it to people. Make sure y'all subscribe or follow, or however you do it on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We do have a YouTube that we haven't really... I do have a YouTube that I haven't uploaded anything except for a couple of shorts to. Eventually, I'll have the video podcast that will go on there. Leave a 5-star review. Remember that until we reach 3,000 likes or follows on Instagram, every 300 follows, I'm giving away a pack of broadheads just to grow the pages, grow the social medias, and leave a review. That right there, anything like that will help this podcast grow and help it reach more people. I want to thank y'all for another blessed week, and y'all have a great week, and I will see y'all, I won't see y'all because, this is a podcast. Y'all will hear me again. I guess the best way to put it. Y'all will hear me again next Saturday at 7 a.m. Thank y'all.